Janie here. Welcome back to my garden and welcome to my early morning October front garden tour. This has been a busy month of planting, particularly where I am right now in the center island. We've had so many changes and it's starting to look really good. The big thing that Jason and I have been working on in the garden this past month is getting trees in the ground. And getting trees in the ground, planting a tree can make all the difference in the world. So I'm starting off here in the center island because this is where the most change has occurred this past month. So we decided that for this year, we were going to focus on the orchard garden bed, which is this garden bed on the other side of the driveway over here. And we were just gonna really focus on that and get it as far done as we can this year. And I'm so happy with how it turned out. Of course, it's not done, but most of the hard stuff is in, right? All the trees are in, the pathway is in, and a lot of the foundation plants are in already, which is exciting. So then we were going to start focusing on the center island after that. And honestly, we weren't even going to focus on the center island until next year, 2025. But we ended up going tree shopping with Michael Glassman, and we were able to get a whole bunch of trees, 21 to be exact, and we decided just to get them all at one time because Michael Glassman is a landscape designer. He was able to get us like a wholesale discount, and then it was at a wholesaler already, so we got a really great deal on all of these trees. So we decided just to grab all of them and get them in the ground, and that's kind of what you're seeing right now. So I'm standing on a berm that we have in the front corner of the island. Where I'm standing right here, there's going to be a gazebo that hopefully we will be able to get made for us. That should come probably early next year, hopefully. And then there's going to be a dry creek bed that's kind of coming down this way. It's going to go here, kind of meander all the way up to that front corner right there. So I know it's kind of hard. There are lines marked out, but it's more like using your imagination, I guess I would say. On either side of the dry creek bed, we planted 2 rising sun red buds, which is so appropriate because the sun is rising right now. I love these guys. These are so beautiful. They are going to be kind of like an ombre effect of a tree. It's going to start off with really dark green foliage, and then it will fade to a lighter green, and then it'll fade to a yellow, and then finally like a bronzy orange, just like a sunrise. And so you can't really see it right now because it's kind of the end of the season. They're deciduous. They're going to lose their leaves. But next spring, I really think it's going to be beautiful. And because they're red buds, they're going to have the beautiful pinky, purple flowers as well, which is really fun. Right behind the red buds, Jason's favorite tree, which is a little gem magnolia. It's beautiful. This one is going to be an evergreen for us here. The little gem variety is an evergreen, which I think will just be gorgeous because it has this gorgeous glossy green foliage, and it does have the brown backs, which, you know, is just so beautiful for a magnolia tree. And I just think that it's going to be such a statement tree, such a specimen tree here. You can see underneath we have already started planting a little bit. I'm trying to repeat plantings a little bit more than I have been. I have the tendency to just kind of plant whatever I want and just get really excited about, you know, new plants and different plants that I haven't tried before. But I'm going to try really hard to have some consistency in this garden, in this center island. So we'll see how I do with that. But you can see right here, I have denim and lace Russian sage, which is going to do beautifully. Next to that, I have a Shasta daisy that I've actually never grown before, and this one is called Spun Silk. Isn't that so interesting? It's so beautiful. Still has the Shasta daisy look, but it's a little bit more fine. Like they almost look like how a cacti dahlia looks like. It's just so beautiful. Yes, hello Monty, good morning. The other thing that happened this month is Monty had his birthday. He is officially 1 year old. He is Monty the Monster, that's what we call him, and he is getting obedience training starting later this month. So we'll see how he does with that. And so let's see, back to this garden bed, or this planting. We have the denim and lace Russian sage. We have the spun silk Shasta daisy. And then right here, I have my pink profusion salvia that I am absolutely in love with. Over here, we have another planting of the pink profusion salvia, and it's really, really a great performer in this garden. So you can see this garden bed, we have the pathway flagged out, which we're going to do the same thing that we have in the orchard garden. I'll show you that in a little bit. It's going to be decomposed granite with a metal edge, which I think is beautiful. It's easy to do. It gives that California look. My garden is in California, so I wanted it to look like a California garden, and I think that's exactly what that pathway does. So as you come down the pathway, or as you go back up the pathway, I have another grouping of the exact same plants I just told you about right there. And so I think that that's going to be a really good way to repeat it. I might do that planting one more time over on the other side of the dry creek bed. But for now, I think 2 is good. Now backing up, you can see this is going to be the entrance to our center island. And you can see the pathway is going to kind of flare out a little bit right there. And then on either side of the pathway, we planted 2 trees this past month. These are Tuscarora crepe myrtles, which is this beautiful, beautiful fuchsia pink color. I love them. They're so gorgeous. I'm pretty sure this is the variety of crepe myrtle I had out in my last property, and I am trying to mimic that because I loved that tree so much. It was so, when it would bloom in the late summer, it was just so beautiful. A lot of people ask me about these plants right here. These plants, I don't know if y'all remember, but they were in my zigzag planter last fall. And instead of tossing the flowers, I came and I replanted them over here, and they've been so beautiful. I mean, you know, they'll kind of come in and out of bloom, the Rudbeckia right here, and then this is a verbena. I don't even remember what variety of verbena it was, but it's just been so nice. And this is just a good example of not tossing your plants, replanting them, and if you live in a mild enough climate, they might come back next season and keep blooming for you, which is exactly what these guys did. So I don't know if I'm going to leave these guys here. I don't know if this is their final resting spot, but it's been nice to have a little bit of color right here this whole season, and it was basically free because I replanted the plants. Okay, and then coming up this way, this is going to be the dry creek bed. So this is all going to be rock right here. And then if you can see, one thing that I didn't put on camera this month, but I did plant, I planted this California field sedge grass. So I planted it here, and then I also planted it over here. And what this grass is it's a California native grass. It's going to get about 3 feet wide, you know, in all directions, 3 feet circle. And it is a grass that gives the look of that meadow grass, but it doesn't need as much water as a lawn. So I am doing this as kind of a trial. I just want to see how it grows. I'm going to leave it over the winter, see in the spring how it's growing. I don't know if I'm going to keep this grass. I mean, I know this is our leach field right here for our septic system. So I know I want to plant some type of grasses over it, but I really don't want a look of like a super manicured lawn. I don't think that goes with my garden. I want more of like that meadowy look with the longer grass. I think that's so beautiful. So you can get that meadowy longer grass in a roll of sod, but of course that costs a lot of money. I was at Annie's Annuals last month, which sad, they are no longer in business. I had no idea when I was there, and I don't think the people I was talking to had any idea either. I know I've gotten a lot of messages about that. But they had this California field sedge, and they recommended it highly as a lawn alternative. So I decided I wanted to try it. We'll see how it grows. I already had the drip irrigation hooked up right here. So I just broke up the plants. I like divided them and then planted it. And I just want to basically see how it does. So it's going to be kind of like a trial. We'll see if I might have to scrap it and put sod in and all that kind of stuff, but at least let's see how these do. And then finally over here, probably the most beautiful thing in this garden bed is this weeping Atlas cedar. It is so So gorgeous. Yes, I still have to train it. The end is kind of touching the ground. I'll work on that. I think I'm going to have Michael Glassman come over and help me. But this is just such a piece of art. It's a living piece of art. And I've always wanted these in my garden. They're not cheap. They're expensive plants because you can imagine this trunk, can you see it's kind of going side to side like that? That's actually a very tall, very mature tree. So this tree has taken a long time to grow. So this is not a cheap tree, but luckily we were able to get a discount with Michael Glassman, and I was able to get one of these in my garden, which is really exciting. We had these two rocks kind of sitting around our garden when we moved in, so we just moved them over here. And then right in front of this rock, I planted a Chinese fringe flower, which I thought would be so pretty. The dark foliage of that contrasting the bluish foliage of the weeping cedar. I think it's just going to be such a beautiful planting vignette. And then the last thing I wanted to show you in my center island is just a rock star of a plant, absolute rock star. This is El Nino Catalpa. It is a cross between a catalpa and a desert willow. I'm going to write that on the screen if that's right. I don't think that that's right, but it is just the most beautiful plant. It has been so happy all season long. It did have some aphids on it, but I just came and I took a hose on the jet setting and I sprayed them and they're all gone, 100% gone. I am going to be training this guy to be more of a tree. It's going to get about 10 feet tall and 10 feet wide with these beautiful blooms on it, and it has been blooming all season long. It's been so incredible. The second I planted it, it started blooming, and there's been some type of blooms on it. So I just think that this is a really, really good addition for those of us who live in zones, 9 and 10. We have hot summers, and this plant is just a gorgeous, gorgeous specimen. I'm so happy with it. And it's so funny because some people at Proven Winners Spring Meadow kept talking about how great this plant was, and I was like, yeah. And then as soon as I got it, it was like, oh yeah, this is a great plant. I love this plant. Okay, so propane tank is still here. We do have plans for it. We're not going to paint it. We're not going to cover it with anything. We are going to move it, but it takes time, right? Like you got to get the plumber in here. You got to get the electrician in here. It's all that coordination stuff. So we will do something with that, just not yet. I wanted to show you all the long border over here because surprisingly, this long border has gotten a lot of plantings in the past month, not even on purpose. It was kind of like I didn't know where to plant something, so I would plant something in this long border, and it ended up really taking shape this past month. So first off, another tree that we planted this month was this Traveler's Weeping Redbud. It is I just love red buds. I just think they're so beautiful. This one's really interesting because it has these weeping branches. It's not going to get tall. It's not going to get much taller than it is right now, but it's going to widen out and it's going to just have that weeping look. It's just going to be, oh, it's so beautiful. I've seen pictures of it. Michael Glassman uses this a lot in his gardens, and it's just so beautiful. The Traveler's Weeping Redbud is supposed to handle heat and dry conditions really well, so it's perfect for my climate, and it's also one of the first to bloom in the spring, so that will be fun. I'll have to see how early it is compared to other redbuds. I have tons of redbuds in my garden now. I think I have 5 or 6 different varieties, so we can see if it actually is one of the first. Over here, I have some summerific hibiscus. They finally stopped blooming. Not finally, they stopped blooming. These are all eyes on me. Really, really pretty blooms. And I just have to say, the shape of the plant and the foliage it's just gorgeous. And I know that's one of the things that they breed for in these plants is the shape of it. And it really, like, you can definitely see it right there. Here I have a flavorette honey apricot rose that I transplanted. Yes, it doesn't look good right now. It looks very unhappy. I am leaving it. I am not going to touch it. I'm not going to cut it back. I'm not going to do anything other than water it because I want it to settle in and I don't want it to push any new growth right now. So I'm just going to let it be. It'll be fine. That's the same thing as this Agastaki over here. This is a royal raspberry Agastaki that I transplanted from the orchard garden. These two up here are 2 new ones, so that's why they look so good. I think that one should be okay. I hope it's going to be able to handle the transplant all right. We'll see. We'll see. And then you can see more trees. We have 3 right here, and then further down in the long border, we have 3 more. These are Podocarpus gracilior. They are going to be beautiful, 25, 35 feet tall, which I know sounds crazy because they're planted so close together, but these guys, you can prune to within an inch of their life. You can train them to be any shape and size that you want them to be, and if you want them to be a hedge, you would actually plant them about 3 feet apart. So they're a really, really neat tree that's actually evergreen, and they're just going to give some really awesome interest for this area. And I have them here, I have them further on down here, and then I also have them over in the orchard garden over on that side. So it's going to kind of just circle the whole garden, the whole front garden in with some Podocarpus. I think right here is a really good example of planting the plants that work in your garden, right plant, right place. Here you can see I have some Vermillionaire Kufia that has been blooming absolutely nonstop. Robbie actually planted these for me, and they've just been beautiful. They've had hummingbirds all over it. It's just been gorgeous. And then we have another mangave right here that's just been happy as a clam. Now contrast that with my hydrangeas back there. I'm pretty sure these are Bobo hydrangeas. Yeah, these guys have been upset the entire season. They're not dead. You can see I have a bloom on them, and they do have some green foliage. I'm hoping that as they settle in, they'll be able to handle the sun a little bit more. And since I planted the Podocarpus here, it should give it a little bit more shade. But it's just so funny to see the difference of plants that are super, super happy with the 100-degree temperatures we have, and then other plants that are just struggling. And that's a hard thing because I want to plant the plants that I want. I would love to have some hydrangeas here, but it just looks so much better. The other plants just look 10,000 times better than the hydrangeas. So at some point, you just have to accept the climate that you live in and say, okay, this isn't going to work here. Let me find an alternative. Right here, this is my purple hopseed tree or shrub. This is another one like the El Nino Chitalpa that I will be pruning this large shrub into a tree form. It's really beautiful. It's this green color right now, but probably in just a couple weeks, it's going to turn this bronzy color that's really beautiful and give some depth to the garden. And then just left of that, it's not much to look at right now, but I think it will be really, really interesting. I planted 2 Eden climbing roses, and I put this arch right here on the fence. And that's just because I just wanted something. I wanted something as a backdrop on the fence, and I saw some pictures of people who had arches along the back of their fence. So beautiful. So as these roses grow and climb up and over the arch, I think that that's going to be really pretty with some grasses in front of it. I think it's just going to be such a beautiful, another really beautiful vignette in my garden in an otherwise really boring space with just a fence in the background. I think it's going to give it some life. And then coming down here, we have my Wichita blue juniper. We have an apricot that needs to be pruned. We have 3 more of the Podocarpus right there, and then this Monterey cypress. And it's just, everything is just starting to look really pretty. I can see, I could see things taking shape, and I can see what this garden is going to look like, and I just think it's going to be beautiful. I also have this pink velour crepe myrtle. It's blooming on the back side. You can kind of see the color. It's very similar to the Tuscarora color, but this one is a small crepe myrtle. This one will only get about 10 feet tall, as opposed to the Tuscaroras that will get probably like 30 feet tall. Now, one tree that's going to get absolutely huge is this tulip poplar right here. This guy is going to be amazing. It's a pretty fast grower. It does get these tulip shaped blooms in the spring, which is why it's called a tulip poplar. But this guy is going to get probably like 80 feet tall, which is just going to be really incredible. And I think it's going to kind of separate our property from the neighbor's property, which is exactly what I want. All right, then coming over this way, we have the willow tree garden bed. And these raised beds right here, we are going to be taking these raised beds out, but probably not for another year or so. Again, we had the orchard garden bed was 2024. The center island is going to be 2025. And then I'm pretty sure this willow tree garden bed is going to be 2026. I mean, it's just financially and time and energy and brain power, I think it just makes more sense to kind of break it up like that, because this is not, I mean, this is so much bigger than my last property. And at first I was trying to do it all at once and get it done as soon as possible. And then I just realized it was too much. I just have to take my time with it. It's okay. I can be patient. I'm not good at being patient, but I can be patient. So these will be coming out soon, but for now they have some lavender in them, which is really, really pretty, and the bees love it. I do have some bearded iris in there as well that is not very happy. It didn't bloom at all this season. I think I'm going to top dress it with some compost and see if it's a little bit happier. Next year, I think it was just too dry for it in this raised bed. I think I'm going to have to transplant them into a, not a raised bed area, basically. And then you can see my willow tree, Robbie the Willow, that is just majestic. I know willow trees are tough. You have to think about where you plant them, and you have to make sure you're not planting it near foundation or near septic or anything like that. But man, are they worth it. They are just so beautiful, and it grows so fast, and it just gives your garden a statement when you need it really, really badly. And I needed something right here. So I'm super happy about it. I still need to kind of train it a little bit. I need to train it so it's more upright so that we can walk underneath it. But for right now, I'm just loving it. Behind that, you can see our fence. This fence is pretty much as tall as it's going to be. We have a limit where we live that our front fence along the road can only be 6 feet tall. So to have some privacy, this is not a very quiet street. To have some privacy, we wanted to plant something that could be tall, that could take the place of a fence. And Proven Winners came out with a new plant this year called Yardline Viburnum. And we ended up planting about 20 of them, we did plant 20 of them. And they're not huge right now, but they will be growing pretty quickly. And they're going to get 12 feet tall and 4 feet wide, which is going to be perfect. So we're going to have basically a whole privacy hedge all the way down the front fence. And it's just going to give us quietness from the cars that are driving by, a little bit of privacy, and it's going to be this gorgeous green backdrop for my garden. When you're looking at it and you're looking at everything that was planted in front of it, it's just going to be really, really beautiful. All right, coming this way, another tree that we planted this past month was this Chinese pistache right here. This guy was not happy, but I can tell that it's still okay. All of its branches are still very supple, and if you scratch it, you can see green underneath. I think it's just in shock, which I'm not really surprised. I'm actually surprised more of the trees didn't go into shock, but this one, it lost about 75% of its leaves, I would say, which is all right. It's a deciduous tree. Chinese pistache, I have one in the backyard. They're so beautiful in the fall. They're just incredible, absolutely incredible in the fall. And then during the summer, when you want some gorgeous shade, it really does a good job. So this one's going to get pretty big, as is this deodar cedar over here that we planted way earlier this season. Just such a beautiful, beautiful plant, but this one is obviously going to be a really slow grower, so it'll take plenty of time to grow up. And then up here, I have a grouping of 5, is it 5? Yeah, 5 of the Niagara Falls panicum. Look at them with the sunrise going through their seed heads. Isn't that beautiful? So these guys are such a beautiful, beautiful grass, because I'm normally used to purple fountain grass that's a little bit darker. This is kind of a bluish silvery color. It's just so gorgeous, and I want more of these. I actually want to get 2 more to go right here so it can butt up right next to my Temple of Bloom 7 sunflower. This one is very similar to the El Nino Catalpa in that I'm going to prune it into a tree form. It could just be a large shrub form, but I've just been letting it grow, get some growth on it, so then I can decide how to prune it. But that one's going to be beautiful, and I think just continuing on the Niagara Falls panicum, I think will just be gorgeous. All right, coming into the orchard garden, I wanted to show you the pink profusion salvia. This plant, I know I talk about it all the time. It really should be on my best for the West list. It is just such a beautiful plant that blooms just absolutely nonstop. Really, really gorgeous. One plant that is on my best for the West list is this Ladybird Sunglow Callilopus, and it has been blooming nonstop. I kind of wish they would come out with some more colors of this. I don't know how hard it is to breed different colors into these plants, but I've had a sea of yellow around this pink profusion and this lavender, sweet romance lavender, all season long. Like, this area has just been color absolutely all season long, which has been really, really fun. And then behind the Ladybird Sunglow, I have this white. This is called Unplugged White Salvia. It's a new one that's coming out next year from Proven Winners, and I have to say, this is totally a winner, you guys. If you're doing a moon garden, or if you're doing kind of a color coordinated garden where you need some white, this white salvia has been gorgeous. I really want to plant more of this next year because it is just it's a winner of a plant for sure. And then coming behind here, I planted 2 shrubs for some color, and they are really showing off their color. First, I have Miss Molly butterfly bush right here. It is definitely butterfly bush season. It's gorgeous. And then right behind there, I have a baby plumbago that is just, I mean, the difference, the colors right here and here are just going to be amazing. Miss Molly is going to get about 4 to 5 feet tall and wide, so it's going to fill out this whole area right here. This plumbago is going to get huge. It's going to get like 6 to 8 feet tall and wide. So this whole area is going to be covered up by these 2 shrubs, but I'm happy about that. I like that it's going to kind of block off this area, but it's going to be beautiful because they're 2 really saturated, really beautiful blooming shrubs that are going to have blooms this, all summer basically, which is exactly what I wanted. And then right behind me, first off, I want to show you, I have lots and lots and lots of olives, So over here in this garden bed is getting a little out of control. You could say a little out of control. First of all, I have the Evolvulus Blew My Mind XL. It's too early. The blooms pop open once the sun hits them, so it's too early, so the blooms aren't open yet. But trust me when I say this thing is covered with blue blooms once the sun hits it. But look at how much it's kind of grown over the walkway, which I love. I love it when plants grow over the walkway. I plant specifically, somebody told me that I plant my plants too close to the walkway, but I do it on purpose, honestly, because I love how that looks. But this, it's a bit much. It's taken up about half the walkway, so I think it's enough. Coming behind that, we have some Caryopteris Beyond Pinked that I do need to cut back. And then you can see my border of the lemon coral sedum coming all the way down this way. And then, my gosh, first of all, I want to my Nyphophia, gopher got one of them, which is very, very annoying. So I got to get one to replace it. But back behind here, this is another shrub that is just such a show off. This is called Chiclet Orange Tacoma or Esperanza. It is such an amazing plant. If you don't have enough place to grow trumpet vine, or you don't want to deal with trumpet vine because it just basically takes over, this is such a fabulous, fabulous alternative to that, because this guy stays about 6 feet tall, about 4 feet wide, and it just has the beautiful look of a trumpet vine. Look at these gorgeous blooms. Isn't that fall? I mean, it's just fall, basically. It's just so gorgeous. And it's been blooming nonstop. It started blooming about midsummer, and then it's just been going nonstop. So this is another shrub that I really didn't know too much about, like the El Nino Catalpa, but now that I have it in my garden, I can see why it's so amazing. It's just so beautiful. And this is 2 of them. I have 2 of them right here. And you can see there's already bees all over them. Then I have to say, from here over, we have had quite a bit of gopher issues this year. So a lot of the plantings that we did ended up not working. They died, the gophers got them, or something like that. So this is still, I don't want to say that I'm done with my orchard garden. I still am going to be planting stuff in there. But from now on, we decided we're going to do gopher cages on all the plants that we have. So we planted more of this Royal Raspberry Agastaki. I showed you guys this in the long border. And all 3 of these have gopher cages on them, which is, it kind of just makes me feel better about it, because I know that I don't have to worry. I mean, the gophers might still get it, right? They might chew off enough of the roots that they're not going to be happy, but it just gives me one more like weapon against those darn gophers. So I'm happy that we decided to do that. It just gives me a little bit of peace of mind. Right here, speaking of the gophers completely decimated this garden bed. I was really excited about this garden bed. I had some cardoons planted interspersed with this lavender, Sweet Romance lavender, and it completely got ruined. So actually, I think this week I'm going to be working on this garden bed. I have a fun idea for it. And then coming over here, same thing. Pretty much everything I planted in this garden bed had some type of damage on it. I had a really, really beautiful Gatsby pink oak leaf hydrangea back there, just totally gone. So I kind of just have to rethink this garden bed a little bit. One thing I know I actually am going to take out at the end of the season is I am going to take out this lantana. This is lemon tart lantana. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful yellow color, but it's a very bright yellow color. And I kind of like yellow to be a little bit more soft. So there's a citron lantana that I would have rather planted, but I ended up getting the lemon tart lantana. So, you know, just so you know, this is a brighter yellow. I think I'm going to take it out and put softer colors in there so it's not so bright. And then you can see this way in this garden bed, I'm trying to keep my shadow out of the shot, but where the sun is, it's making it difficult. I love this garden bed. This garden bed is so beautiful and it's really starting to take shape. I think as things grow, things will get taller. It's really going to make, it's just going to be so beautiful. I love this garden bed. So one of the things I have to say is that there are some rock stars in this garden bed. For one, we have the Surefire Rose Begonia. That thing has been in color all season long, and from where I sit on the dining, at the dining table, I can look out the window and I can see that guy, and it's just such a beautiful color. Over here, we planted some Cat's Pajamas Nepeta, which is going to do the same. I probably won't see that from the dining room, but it's absolutely beautiful. And then we do have Whirlwind Blue Scaevola down here. I do want to show off this plant that's starting to bloom. This is called Salvia leucantha, or Santa Barbara salvia. It is such a cool plant because talk about late season interest. While everything's kind of winding down and going to bed, this guy is starting to bloom, and it's going to give another month or two of beautiful, beautiful interest. And I actually have a white one over on the other side of the orchard garden that I passed by, but this is my purple ones, and I just love them. And these guys are so easy to care for. They are going to get big, so I'm probably going to have to pull one or two of these out, but for right now, they're looking really, really gorgeous. So then coming this way, you can see, well, let me show you from the angle from where I sit at the dining table. You can see we have the Truffalo Pink Gomphrena over here, Lemon Coral Sedum, Meteor Shower Verbena, Iceberg Roses when they're in bloom, and then behind it, the Surefire Rose Begonia. And the color is just so beautiful. So I'm still working, I'm still fine-tuning this garden bed, but it's really starting to come along. And then you can see we did plant a Eureka Lemon right here, which is just going to add in to the orchard garden with the two orange trees I have, the pomegranate tree, the fig tree. Oh, it's just really exciting to really start to see it come together. And then over here, you can see my espalier. I cannot get out of I can't get my shadow out of the shot. So you can see my Star Jasmine espalier that's really looking beautiful. I cleaned it way up. I really, really did a job on it the other day, and I just think it looks absolutely beautiful. So it's starting to fill in. We also did put some landscape lighting. You can see down below, there's one right there, and then there's one over there. There's solar lights from HoseLink, and they just, at night, they make this whole wall just light up, and it looks so beautiful. And it just makes such a difference because this is just a blank wall. There's absolutely nothing here. So having the espalier here just makes this blank wall into a piece of art, basically. Okay, so then the other thing I did this past month is I made over my front porch for fall, and if you saw that video, you know I'm not a huge fan of this planting, this setup. I mean, I really like the pumpkins and I really like the corn husks, and I love my Green Man plaque, even though that's not where it's going to stay. I think the problem that I'm having with these is the color of the coral bark maple leaves, and then the color of the creeping jenny that I have right here. I think it's just too green. It doesn't really look fall, and then it doesn't really go with the plants that I picked out. So the good thing is when I planted them, they were like wilted and they looked absolutely terrible. They kind of bounced back a little bit. We've been, watering them and taking care of them, but not my favorite, not my favorite planting that I've ever done. And then finally, last but not least, is my zigzag planter. You can't even tell it's a zigzag planter because these grasses are so massive and giant. But I love it. I love it so much. And the other thing I love is my heliotrope, because the smell of these flowers is just so incredible. I love it. And they've been performing so very well. And this is absolute full sun, just so you guys know. So really, it's been absolutely gorgeous. Jason and I are going to be transplanting these grasses over to the center island, kind of by the where the dry creek bed is up there in the corner. So that's going to be a project. Oh my goodness. And we can divide these, you know what I mean? They're totally ready to be divided. I'm probably just going to clean them up a little bit and transplant them. And then we are going to transplant the super bean of pink cashmere as well, because in our area, this will last. This is a temperennial or a hardy annual, so it will definitely last. So I don't want to get rid of this plant. I just love it so much. I think it's so beautiful. So we'll be transplanting that as well. And then I'm going to be planting some daffodil bulbs in here. It's about time to start thinking about planting daffodil bulbs. So that's going to be a project. But I do have to say, I have enjoyed this zigzag planter so much this year. So I'll be really sad to see it go. But moving on to the next year and the next exciting thing. All right, so that's a look at how our front garden has come along in the past month. There's been so many changes. It's been really fun, and I think next month there's going to be a lot of changes as well, just based on all the fun stuff that we have coming up. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.